last time we went to Luciana, and then we talked about your profession as a calligraph, and the fact how calligraphy is included in the society, in Arab society, and so this is the kind of similar situation. We have an artist producing art for the church. It's a similar way,
yes,
construction. It's a different religion, but it somehow made me think about how much the Danish society would criticize this kind of connection between art, church, and state. When it comes to Arab countries, they would be very sensitive to this as a kind of the main critique. But this is very similar. And
no, but isn't it a very big difference, because here it's very much art is as an individual. And I think in Muslim church it's much more like, I know it from Indian culture, it's very much like you go up in the tradition and you're not so much into like creating something individual.
But I don't think I think he also creates for the church. I think, in this artworks where the church topic is the main, he's basically producing the message of the church, or visualizing the problem of Trinity, or the disappearance of the body of Jesus, or whatever. The topics are from the church, so he's somehow visualizing them. That should be the main
more
thing.
In his own way than maybe an artist would be
in Arab countries?
For Buddhism or something.
Or Buddhism, yeah. But my point was simply just this connection between the art, church, and the state, which is something that we don't like to hear in Western cultures, because church and state is not so good to connect, because you can control people too much, and art is a kind of tool to do this. But what we saw today, it's exactly the same, because he was mentioning in his presentation also a connection to the funds like Carlsberg Fund, to city councils of different regions in Denmark that have been hiring him to do things, so that there is definitely a connection between state, church and art here, as much as you can see in any other Arab country.
Well, I would more say it was state, art and church. I mean, in that order. Is the church is the kind of third in the row, where you might find in the Islamic countries that maybe the church, as it were, the religion comes before the other things. So the priorities are a little different, perhaps. I think you're right. I think that there's a play with, what should we say, what's acceptable as spiritual art in that culture. And the thing is that the Scandinavian churches, they like to be seen to be modern, therefore it must have a modernist flavour.
Neutral.
Yeah, well, I mean, you wouldn't get away with an oil painting in a Danish church these days. I mean, if you did a deposition from the cross or something, or Annunciation or something in oils, there is this famous portrait painter, a Danish portrait painter.
Thomas Klug.
Yeah. And he would be the man to do it, of course, an Annunciation or something, or a Nativity or something, and that wouldn't do. The churches wouldn't go for that. They'd rather have something that was kind of a little bit cold and a little bit modernistic looking, and that's why he's a hit with his target audience, his target group. So I do think there's a difference. I don't think it's quite the same. I think the priorities are a little different.
One different point I want to talk about, as Meher said, he want to be like Christian artist for churches, for getting money, and there is some business in that. Another way for Muslim artists who make arts for the mosques, it's more for domain, for giving, not for getting money. But artists could have some honor, gifts, something like that. But the artists don't ask about how much it costs or something, because it's not business when it's belong to mosques, because it has some belief to support. Yes, the most are.
But that's maybe also something which is not so present in our culture here. I mean, the way he talks about it is not really for me as a believer. It's more like a, kind of handyman who's producing art. It has to be in a special way.
But I think he started out by being a heavy believer.
Okay, with the flowers and
I think he started out as a believer, and he's very interested in the Trinity and all this stuff. And then he worked with his art, and then the art developed slowly, and then the church found out, oh, that's a man who suits in our picture. and then they give him some assignments, and the assignments grow bigger, and then it gets more like business. So, but he still have this spirituality.
Yeah, but also in a very intellectual way, I would say. Very much reflecting about it, like a theologist.
He's a very
not so much like when in Indian you say bhakti or something, which is kind of honor or something, adoration of God. That's something which is not so much here, I think. This kind of adoration or